welcome to our session. We will get started here. I'm just waiting for one other person to join, and then we can get going with our demo for this evening. Okay. Thank you for your patience, and just stand by for a couple of moments, and we'll get started here. Let's get started here. Again, just some quick ground rules here. Your lines will be muted at all times, and if you need to speak with me, please unmute, and also you can communicate with me over the chat window here. Okay, let me just type a hi or a hello, and can you please type back a hi or hello to me, just so that I know that you know how to use. We've got two participants here. Can you type a hi or a hello back? All right, let's move forward. The agenda for the demo here is we'll talk about the project and processes. Role of a project manager, I'll go over the PMBOK layout, and then I'll talk about the various processes, and I'll just show you how we do it from a process standpoint, like integration management. And then I'll talk about the format and the specialty of this training program. So before I proceed further, my name is Naveen. I'm your trainer. And I possess a master's in computer science, and then also a master's in business administration, all that from Texas State University. I am a PMP certified candidate. It stands for Portfolio Management Professional. I'm also a PMP certified candidate. I'm also a PBA, Professional in Business Analysis certified candidate. I also possess a Certified Scrum Master certification. I have about 15 years of experience in different domains across different industries. And I started my career as a business analyst and then worked my way up to become a project manager, program manager, and I currently work as a portfolio manager for Fortune 100 companies here in California. And I've also doubled up my role as a product manager, UAT lead, or a process re-engineering specialist. And as far as the PMP training goes, I've trained about 1,000 students in spaces of PMP and business analysis. So I have experiences in different domains, such as finance. Within finance, I had chances to work in banking, credit card, mortgage, insurance, healthcare, pharma, travel, and telecom, and also in some of the pure IT organizations. I'm also a member of various professional bodies such as PMI, Agile Alliance, Scrum Alliance, American Marketing Association, Society of Quality, Toastmasters, etc. So what I want you to know is the knowledge and the information that I will bring into this platform is not necessarily from a textbook, but it is very practical and it will help you to clear your PMP exam. So at this moment, I'd like for you to introduce yourselves. Just mention if your name, your education, your current experience or work experience, your current location. If you don't have any work experience, you can skip that and move to the next point. But can you please unmute and quickly introduce Roxy? Go ahead and introduce, please.
Hi, I'm Roxy. Well, education. I have a bachelor's degree from University of Maryland, and with a minor in computer science. I currently work with Leidos, contracting with Department of Defense for the military software development lifecycle. So I'm an IT project manager there. I've been studying to get my PMP for about the past year, on and off, but then kind of really dug into it the last 2 months. But then I actually took the exam, and I failed it. I failed it because I didn't meet all the proficiency levels, so I would have to retake it. And my current location is I'm in Washington, D.C.
All right, thank you, Roxy. Thank you very much. We have another person, WK Wright. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Billy White. I have an MBA and a bachelor's degree. I'm a project manager and agile coach currently with IBM. Prior to that, I was a program manager on a large NASA contract. And my current work location is Louisiana, although I travel quite a bit for fun.
All right, thank you very much. So let's go ahead and get started here. So what is a project? So I think you already, have been working and you do have some experiences in project and probably also did do some reading here. So let me cut the chase and get to the point here. Project, according to PMBOK, is defined as a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to create a unique product, service, or a result. So what do we mean by that? For example, a project will have a definite start time and a definite finish time. A definite start time and a definite finish time. In other words, a project will, let's say, start on January 1st, 2017 and it should end on December 31st, 2017. So it has to have a definite start time. And then there are a set of activities that are done by different individuals or sometimes one individual so that there is an output. And the output has to be unique in nature. Output has to be unique in nature. For example, when Boeing manufactured and assembled their very first Dreamliner series and rolled it out in their at their Everett, Washington assembling unit, the first time it was a project because it was unique and it's a product. It's an airplane, it's a product. You can touch it and feel it. So there was an output and it was a 3-year, or I'm sorry, it was about, I don't recollect exactly the duration, but I would say 3 to 5 years long. And there were a set of activities that people had to perform. Until then, there was no Boeing Dreamliner series or Boeing Dreamliner airplane at all. But that was the first time. So there can be a product as an output or a service as an output or at the end of this program, which is educational services, which includes project management concepts, PMP related materials, PMP skills, or sometimes you can have a result oriented projects, generally surveys or research and development activities. For example, when the government conducts census, it's a result oriented project because there will be a set start time, there will be a set finish time, and then there will be people who will go out and ask these questions. There will be a questionnaire and they'll ask questions, they'll gather data, and then when they gather the data, they'll come back and they will aggregate the data. They will check the quality of the data. And then finally they came back and said 48% of the population in the United States is men, 52% of the population in the United States are women. And then they went beyond that and said so-and-so percentage of the people fall in so-and-so income levels, etc., etc. Now that is a result because it was undertaken within a specific period and there were a set of activities and that was unique in nature. So a project can create a product that can be either a product or end product or a sub-component of a product. For example, in the assembly of Boeing Dreamliner, there were a lot of sub-projects: engine work, interior work, painting job, electricals, the safety systems, Or sometimes it can create a service or a capability. For example, establishing a production or distribution channel or a supply chain, or improving an existing product or a service. An example can be if you undertake a Six Sigma project to reduce the number of defects in your manufacturing. Now that is a product or a service improvement. Also, it can be a result, which I just talked about. So a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or a result. I see one of the person joining our class here. Rhonda, welcome to the class. Can you quickly introduce yourselves by mentioning your name, your education, work experience, and current location? You may have to unmute by clicking on the microphone icon on the GoToMeeting control panel. Rhonda Coleman. If you're able to hear me, if you can unmute, yep, go ahead and introduce. Yeah.
My name is Rhonda Coleman. I have currently an MBA. My work experience has been in the project management space, also business consulting. So I've been doing project management for probably the past 5 years. And currently I'm located in Dallas, Texas.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your interest. So we just talked about project. I think you probably joined. So now let's move forward and talk about what a process is. See, the primary difference between a project and a process is project produces an output that is unique in nature. But then what Boeing does is every day they do produce these Dreamliner series. Well, I say when it's every day, it's actually once every few months. So the first thing they do is they will prepare the fuselage, then they will add the tail components, and then down the line they'll do something else, electricals and engine, not the engine, and then they will attach the wings, and then here the plane is pretty much ready, and then again, as you see here, engines are attached to the wings of the plane, while engines are not attached to the wings of the plane. So in a process, there is a definite start time, a definite finish time. There is also an output. I think on an average about 7 to 8 months is what Boeing would need to manufacture and assemble a Dreamliner airplane. And then they will, they'll take it to the next level and then do the painting and, all the other stuff. The difference between a project and a process is this is an ongoing effort. They do this every day. And the product is not unique. The output is not unique. That is what happens in an assembly line on a manufacturing floor. The first time around it is a project. But it is not a project if you're repeating it day in, day out. For example, for you, this training program can be a project because there's a start time, finish time, and then you will also be getting a product or a service, which is educational services, project management, educational services. Well, for me, this is not a project. For me, it is a process because I do this every month. Every month there is a start time, there is a finish time, and then I will deliver the PMP materials. So this is a process for me. So if I had to give you a simple difference between project and operations, so by the way, operations are called as the same as process. They are used interchangeably. They are synonymous. Project is temporary in nature. Operations are ongoing. Project is unique. Operations are repetitive. A project will terminate once its objectives are attained. But operations will adapt and sustain the business, right? If Boeing stops producing the Dreamliner airplanes, guess what? They cannot sustain, they cannot stay in the business. So they've got to manufacture and they've got to sell that. Now, why do we need a project? A project is needed for various reasons: market demands, organizational needs. For example, there could be new requirements from a particular market, advancements in different areas, or technological advancements. For example, in 2000, a lot of organizations updated their software from legacy technology to newer technology. And then eventually, after a few years, everybody started moving over to Web 2.0. Now, again, you see that wave of technological advancements happening because everybody's saying we've got to go into the cloud. We've got to go secure an application or a platform or a service from Amazon. Or sometimes it could be because of a customer request, or sometimes due to regulatory or legal requirements. Right now, they're going to be changing some healthcare laws. The government is going to come up with new laws. Guess what? A lot of these healthcare organizations will have to upgrade their systems, upgrade their processes to comply with the newer legal regulations, or simply to stay competitive in the industry, or simply to create a project. So a project can be taken up for various reasons like this. Okay. Now, what is project management? It is simply put the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to meet the project requirements. So how do you do that? So PMBOK, which is the best practices body of knowledge published by PMI, has come up with about 47 logically grouped processes, and each one has a set of inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. And then you will be able to accomplish a specific set of activities. So now that you know what project management is, what is the role of a project manager? Who is a project manager? Can I get any voice answers? By the way, I want to let you know that my classes are highly interactive. In other words, this is not necessarily a one-way conversation. This is a dialogue. I'll be asking questions and expecting answers from you. What do you think project management is? So what have you done as a project manager in your company? Can I get any response from any of you? You can unmute and answer.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, this is Roxy. I was just saying, project manager, someone who has, who oversees the who has the overall responsibility for the, for successful completion of the project from beginning to end.
I have a question here. Who has to be given the credit if the project is successful, and who has to be blamed if the project fails?
The project manager.
Even if the project fails?
So it's the responsibility of the project manager that if the project fails, but if it succeeds, then it benefits everybody.
Exactly. That is the reason why we have a saying, success has many fathers and mothers, but failure is an orphan.
Only one person, yeah.
But guess what? That is not how it has to be. A project manager has to be given the credit for both the success and the failure of a project, because to your point, a project manager is ultimately accountable. I wouldn't use the word responsible, but I would use the word accountable to accomplish the project objectives. Now, what is the difference between accountability and responsibility? Or is there a difference between those two terms?
Yeah, responsibility is like a specific task. If you're assigned a specific task and to an individual, that becomes your responsibility to complete that task. But I'm sorry, I forgot the other word you mentioned. Responsibility and
accountability.
Accountability. And accountability, that would be the project manager would be held accountable for. Right.
So responsibility is somebody who is going to be completing the task, somebody who is required to do a task. But accountability is somebody whose life is on the line. somebody who will have to pay for it, somebody who will lose a job. So let's say if the requirements are not gathered, a business analyst in a project will be probably given a warning, right? Because BA is responsible to gather requirements. But then accountability is the project manager is eventually accountable. A project manager might lose his or her job. A project manager might be disciplined. So a project manager has the ultimate accountability of the project, and project manager has to be given the credit or should be blamed if the project fails or project succeeds. However, the function of a PM will depend on the type of organization that the project manager is assigned to. For example, if it's a functional organization, in our formal class we'll be talking about different types of organizations. And in a functional organization, a project manager will be reporting to a functional manager. Or if it's a projectized organization, a project manager may report into somebody in a PMO, project management office, like maybe to a program manager or to a portfolio manager. Okay? And then the job of a project manager or role of a project manager is to manage the project so that the project objectives can be balanced and, so that the project objectives can be achieved by balancing various parameters and constraints. Also, the project manager is a central force, the unifying force within the project. So there are multiple stakeholders, there are multiple phases, multiple activities. So a good project manager will have to manage all of that and then maintain the balance. So now if that's the role or responsibility or accountability or the job of a project manager, now what are the attributes, some of the attributes that a PM should possess? For example, a project manager should understand the various concepts about project management. They should be able to perform, right? They should be possessing some personal skills. Now, what do you mean by personal skills? Such as their attitude, the leadership style. They should be able to influence people. They should be able to lead the teams. They should have good communication skills. They should have motivation skills. They should have some documentation skills. They should be able to use some tools. So these are some of the attributes that a project manager should possess if they want to be successful in their endeavor. Let me pause for a second here and see if you've got any questions. Okay, looks like you don't have any questions, so let me move forward. So now that we understand what a project is, now we understand who a project manager is, let's go ahead and understand what a PMO structure is about. See, in an organization, there are many projects. There are several hundreds of projects that are being taken up. A collection of projects would be called as a program. A collection of programs and projects would be called as a portfolio. Projects are managed by project managers. Programs are managed by program managers. And portfolios are managed by portfolio managers. If it's a PMO structure type of organization, which is a projectized type of organization, a PM will report to the portfolio manager. Now, why do we have a program? Sometimes you cannot get the benefits of a particular project. Sometimes you cannot necessarily utilize the benefits or the deliverables of a single project. But the benefits will be greater, or the benefits can be reaped if a collection of projects are executed simultaneously. If a collection of projects are executed simultaneously. So therefore you would have large programs which can contain multiple projects. So in an organization, planning will occur at a portfolio level. For example, finance is a portfolio, HR is a portfolio, operations is a portfolio, supply chain is a portfolio, manufacturing can be a portfolio, engineering can be a portfolio, accounting can be a portfolio. Each of that is a portfolio. Within each of these portfolios, you can have multiple programs. For example, marketing is a portfolio. Within that, you can have multiple programs pertaining to pricing, pertaining to positioning, pertaining to product launch. Now, when you look at pricing, you could have multiple projects. How do you price your product? What are your other competitor product prices? How should you determine the price of the project or product? So each of that can be taken up as a separate project. So planning will occur at a portfolio level at an organization. For example, right now for 2017, in fact, we started planning for our portfolio for 2017 back in November and December of last year. And then once we plan for the portfolio, we will plan for the corresponding programs. And now we are planning for the projects that are to be executed in 2017. But when you execute a group of projects, a program will be executed. When you execute a group of programs and projects, portfolio will be executed. Therefore, planning occurs from a top to down, top to bottom level or fashion, but execution occurs from a bottom to top fashion. So project managers typically go for PMP certification, which is what you're here for. Program managers go for PGMP certification. Portfolio manager will go for PFMP certification. There are about 730,000 people across the globe who have PMP certification according to PMI. And then I think about 1,400 or so PGMP certified candidates, if I'm not mistaken. And about 354 PFMP certified candidates across the globe. So I possess PFMP and PMP. I don't have a PGMP though. You don't need to have PGMP to get PFMP, okay? So some of the concepts that we discuss here in PMP are pretty similar, and you will see the same concepts in other certifications also, because the concept is the same. It's just the scale, right? You have to communicate, you have to manage stakeholders, you need to integrate, you need to manage your schedule, you need to manage your costs, you need to govern. All of that are pretty similar, but it's just the scale that depends. Okay. So how is PMBOK classified? Probably some of you already know this, or most of you already know this. PMBOK is divided into different domains and different knowledge areas. Right now it's the 5th edition, which was published in 2013. There's word that there's going to be updates coming up in next, or actually in 2017. So 5 domains are initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling, closing. See, a lot of people think they're all in a particular sequence. Not really. You would initiate the project activities, you would plan the project activities, and then you would execute the project activities. As you're executing, you're monitoring and controlling the project activities. When you monitor and control, there will be some defects. There will be some variances. Guess what? You got to replan. And then you got to re-execute. So the flow of activities within planning, execution, monitoring, controlling is bidirectional. It is not unidirectional. It is not just one way. It is multi-way. And then once you do all of that successfully, you've got to close a phase or close the project, which is what closing phase is about. So what do you mean by close the project? Closing the project, meaning making sure that you're releasing all the project resources, making sure you're giving letters of recommendation, making sure you're securing the project documents or artifacts, and then making sure that you would have conducted lessons learned meeting, right? Making sure that all the invoices have been paid and there's no balance, no dues. So that is part of your closing phase activities. What about knowledge areas? See, PMI and PMBOK classified that there are 10 key areas that you could be functioning in. One is integration management. Integration management is nothing but it is actually tying everything together, unifying. It is putting everything together, bringing everything together, aggregating. Scope. It is the boundaries. What is the project scope? What is the product scope? Time, which is your schedule. Cost. How are you managing with your costs? So you got to manage your forecast. You got to manage your actuals. You need to estimate. So this is where you will see some math in this training program, because there are different types of calculations, and they're pretty easy actually. If you understand the concept, they're very easy, and those are low-hanging fruits in your exam. You cannot afford to miss those. For example, there are different types of estimation techniques: three-point estimation, parametric estimation, beta distribution, triangular distribution, analogous estimation. And then you have quality management. How do you define quality? Can I get a voice answer from Rhonda or Wright? What do you think of quality? How would you define quality?
I'm sorry, I was speaking. This is Rhonda. So a quality is from a stakeholder perspective, it's the expectation or the standard of something that we're achieving to create or build or provide. So it's the standard by which something is measured, or usually by the expectations of the requirements or the expectations of the customers of the degree that we're providing it, the quality or the standard by which something is being provided.
That's a very good answer.
Professor, can I add something to that as well?
Yes, please go ahead. And may I know who I'm talking to?
Oh, Roxy.
Oh, Roxy, go ahead.
I just had the quality is more like a degree, a measure of a degree of the characteristics of the deliverable, as opposed to like the grade is the product rank. So a low quality will usually result in a problem, but a low grade will not always be a problem. That makes sense.
So then are you saying that we can have low quality, high quality, medium quality, good quality, bad quality, better quality?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So let me go ahead and give you one example, okay, so that it's clear. Let's say there are two kinds of cars. One is a Mercedes-Benz, and the second kind of a car is, I'm just giving you this is an example, okay? This is not true, this is an example. Let's say Kia Rio or Kia Grande, something like that. So the management at a Kia factory gave 100 requirements to the engineers. And the management at a Mercedes-Benz factory gave away 400 requirements to the engineers. At the end of the build, 100 of the 100 requirements have been met at a Kia factory on a Kia car. 300 of the 400 requirements have been met at Mercedes-Benz. I have two questions for you. Anybody can answer this. Which of these is a qualitative product and why?
Can you repeat your question again? Which one?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
Which car is a qualitative car and why?
I would say the Kia, only because the Kia, all of the requirements that were required to meet a specific standard were met. So that's the reason why I would say that it would be the Kia.
Right, so that's correct. Yeah, go ahead, Roxy.
Oh yes, I was just gonna say yes. That's what I would take as a pick too, because Kia did fulfill the initial requirements of as opposed to Mercedes.
Absolutely. So in this example, Kia is a qualitative product because it conformed to all the requirements. In fact, to Rhonda's earlier definition, which is the standard that has to be met or adhered, right? So here, the original requirements were 100 and all 100 have been met. So Kia is a qualitative product. But in the case of Mercedes, only 300 have been met. 100 are still left out. Those 100 could be, let's say, braking system or transmission, or it could be as simple as some kind of a GPS or a heated seats or leather seats or a multi-CD changer or something like that. So the point is, quality can be defined as conformance to the requirements. But let's say if you're a tester, if you're a QA person, guess what? Quality is 0 defects. Quality is 0 defects. You would have 0 defects when you adhere or when you meet all the requirements. But then in this example, there is one factor that stands out. There are 200 features more in Mercedes-Benz than Kia car, right? Mercedes-Benz has 300 features. A Kia car has 100 features. So Mercedes-Benz has 200 features more than a Kia car, which means it could be 200 features more, could be leather seats, or a sunroof, or a moonroof, or sensors, or a built-in GPS, or a satellite radio system, or remote start feature. So just because it has more features than a Kia car doesn't guarantee the quality. That means there are still 100 unmet requirements. 100 unmet requirements. So how do you categorize this distinction here? So in the class of cars, Mercedes-Benz is a higher grade product than a Kia car. In the class of cars, Mercedes-Benz is a higher grade product than a Kia car because it has 200 features more than a Kia car. But just because it's higher grade, does it mean it's qualitative? No, it still has some defects. So in the case of grade, to Rox's point, you can have high grade, low grade, medium grade. But in the case of quality, you cannot have better quality, best quality, good quality, bad quality. It's either qualitative or not qualitative. It's either conforming to all the requirements or not conforming to all the requirements. There are no degrees in quality, but there are degrees in grades. So guess what? Next time when you go to a grocery store, you will see large grade eggs, high grade milk. And what that means? All they're saying is, look, there's more quantity than quality. Okay. So anyway, that's about quality management. Within quality management, we're going to be talking about the different tools that are available to organizations to measure quality or to maintain the quality aspects. And then we'll talk about HR management. See, as a project manager, you have to deal with people. There are people-related issues. How do you acquire? How do you develop your teams? How do you manage your teams? Right? What are the different styles of motivational techniques? See, some people are motivated to work by default. Some people are not motivated to work. Some people are motivated only when you reward them, besides their salary or besides their regular billing. But some people will, not work. They'll be demotivated if salary is not paid on time, or if they do not have a good working environment, or if there are too many office politics. You got to understand all of that. There are different types of theories that we need to understand. And then from a communication management standpoint, you need to understand what are the various channels. How do you communicate? What are the various formats? Who should you communicate with? And then managing risk. Now, what is risk according to you? Can I get a input or a response from either from any of you? How do you define risk? What is risk?
So risk, this is Rhonda. So risk is the probability of an issue or problem occurring within your project.
Okay. So is it just the probability?
So risk can be an assumption, or a threat, or it can actually be something that is actually, I don't know how to say it.
Opportunity.
It can be an opportunity, which is a good risk,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi, this is Roxy.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, yeah, a risk is, it's like an uncertain future event or maybe a condition that could potentially either have a negative or a positive impact on the project's objectives.
Fantastic. Risk is an uncertain event that can either have a positive or a negative impact. For example, I can take a risk, go to Las Vegas, and then play poker or play blackjack, or I can gamble. So when I'm taking the risk, guess what? There's an output. And the output can be positive, which is I can earn money or I can win some money, or I can lose my money. I can lose my betting. But how do you calculate risk? Every risk is quantifiable, and we calculate risk based on the probability and the expected loss. Probability and expected loss. So probability is the chance of occurrence. For example, what is the probability of getting a heads when you toss a coin?
That'd be 50%?
Yeah, 50% or 0.5. Very good. And then, so we got to talk about risk management, understanding, risk. How do you quantify risks? How do you qualify risks? And then you, as a project manager, should be managing a risk register in your organization. And then procurement management. What do you mean by procurement? You need to procure resources, raw materials, procure the needed licenses, procure the permissions, right? So procure the needed authorizations. All of that will be part of your procurements. And then there are different types of bids, time and expense, cost reimbursable, fixed bids, or actually it's time and materials, or and then also you also have to talk about different types of requests for proposal, requests for quote, requests for invite, requests for bid. Now there's a difference between each of those. So that is what will be covered in procurement management. And then stakeholder management. Now, what is stakeholder management? You got to engage the stakeholders. How do you do that? First, you need to identify the stakeholders, understand what their interests are, understand what the influences are, understand where they fall in the interest versus power grid. And then you need to engage the stakeholders. And it's a continuous activity. It's not something that you do at the beginning of the project and then forget about it. No, you got to reevaluate your stakeholders. As you move through the phases of the project, stakeholders get added, stakeholders get removed, and you need to manage the stakeholders. So anyway, these are 10 different knowledge areas. And then the way PMBOK is designed is you have these 10 different knowledge areas, and then spanning across these 5 different process groups or domains. Now if you count all of these, these are the 47 processes. So develop a project charter, that's a process. Develop a project management plan, that's a process. Okay. Now this course focuses on each of these processes, and we have to understand the inputs, the tools and techniques, and outputs. So as an example, by the way, before I proceed, any questions here? Is everyone doing good? All right, let's move forward. So let's say integration process. Okay, I'll just show you a sample of how we will cover this course. You have these 6 different processes in integration management, which is develop project charter, project management plan, direct and manage the project execution, monitor and control the project work, perform integrated change control, and close the project or phase. Now, what do you mean by develop a project charter? As I mentioned, every process will have a set of inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. So the inputs for developing project charter are project statement of work, business case, contract, enterprise environmental factors, OPS. Now as part of the class, we will look at each and every item in detail so that we fully understand what each of these are. And then we need to understand what expert judgment means. How do you apply expert judgment? Where should you use expert judgment? And then once you do that, you will get to the project charter. And then we will have to look at what a project charter would contain. What do you mean by a project charter? For example, project charter would contain, let me just show you some examples here. A project charter would contain information about the project itself, the purpose of the project, some measurable project objectives and the success criteria, high-level requirements, high-level description, high-level risks, any summary milestones, summary budget. Okay. We also have a template and we can look at that. So that is how we will be learning each and every process, and then we will also learn these concepts from an actual application standpoint. In other words, if you are running a project, how should you apply these concepts? So that's also focused. Now, what is the specialty? I'm switching gears here to talk a little bit about this program and the structure here. As I said, I've trained about 1,000 students so far, and I have two clear goals for each and every candidate. One is to help you clear a PMP exam, and also to apply these PM concepts in the job. How do I help you? How can I help you clearing the exam? Number one, by discussing the concepts in the class. And number two, by providing you with access to our online exam portal, which we built for you. So once you enroll, you'll be getting access to this exam portal, and we have two options. One is topic-wise or full length. Let's say topic-wise. Let's click on submit. Now, these are different topics, different chapters. So you have all the way from number 2 through 11. Those are your 10 knowledge areas. But we also have some introductory chapter, which is project management framework, and we have professional responsibility, which is also part of the exam. So what you can do is, after we complete a particular chapter, you can go to this portal once you're given access. Then you can click on do the test. So let's say we start with 5 questions and then we do the test. So which of the following is not a characteristic of the project? Can I get an answer, please? Which of the following is not a characteristic of a project? Is it constrained by limited resources? Go ahead.
This is Roxy. It's the one that says ongoing and repetitive. It's not a character because it's temporary.
Okay, let's see. Oh, good. That's correct. And then you have some justification down below, right? Why? Because it's a temporary endeavor. We discussed about that in our class. In a kickoff meeting for your project, you provided information to your team members about the different process groups to be followed. According to PMI, which are the project management process groups? Any guesses? Is it, see, remember I just talked about 5 different domains or process groups.
Would it be number 2? Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing as one of
them? That is correct. Good. Let's go to the next question. You are managing the release of a new drug in the market. What's your role? Are you a functional manager, project manager, operations manager, or program manager?
I'm going to take a guess and say project manager.
Okay. All right, let's see. Wow, that is correct. Your company is responsible for developing an antivirus software. You're responsible for managing both the individual product release and coordination of multiple releases. So what is your role? Are you a program manager, project, or functions, or operations manager? You are responsible for managing the project and coordinating multiple projects. Essentially, you are dealing with multiple projects. What do you do? What is your role?
Okay, so I'm taking guess program manager.
Let's see. That is correct. Wow, somebody's on a roll here. You have reached the end of a design phase. You decide to call a phase in review for obtaining authorization to close the design phase and initiate the next phase, which is the execution phase. Your manager disagrees with your suggestion and he wants a kill point. So let me just tell you what a kill point is. So kill point is phase in review is also called as a kill point. Phase in review is also called as a kill point. So anyway, you're saying that you want a phase in review, but your manager is saying, no, let's do a kill point. In that case, what would you do? Should you disagree with your manager or agree with your manager or escalate this or take advice from somebody else?
Let's do number 2.
Agree with your manager. Let's see. Wow, you got it all 5 out of 5. So why do you need this training then if you know it all? I don't understand. You got 100%. Seriously, why do you need this?
That means you're a very good trainer.
Thank you. So that's how the course is, okay? But if you go back to the courses and if you look at the full length, so these are 4 full-length simulated tests, and these are 4-hour long. So once you click on Start Test, the timer will kick off. This is like the actual test, and you will be able to practice it here, and then you'll be able to get some scores. So if you actually get about, let's say, 80% on these tests, I can guarantee that you will pass the real exam, the actual exam. Okay? So that's a little bit about the exam portal. And besides that, we'll also be providing you with access to the materials, such as, we do have a variety of materials here. For example, there are some ebooks that you'll be receiving access to, and we will give you some cheat sheets like to remember some formulae and then some of the stuff. But again, we're going to be deriving every formula in the class. You will understand it all. And then there's some study guides. Right. There's some study guides. You'll also receive study guides for each and every chapter. And there's templates. We will be looking at each of these templates. For example, project chart. Remember, I was just talking about that a minute ago, which is something that you would create at the beginning of the project. Right. So there's a question on the test. At what point would a project manager get his or her formal authority on the test, on the project? After the project charter is formally approved, that's when a PM will get the formal authority, because that's where they're telling you, or that's where they will determine your authority level with regards to budget, with regards to staffing, with regards to the scope and other things. Okay, so bottom line, there's plenty of extra material. Again, you'll get access to this, and you'll be given all of this material once you enroll in this training program. And finally, for you to sit for this exam, there's some prerequisites. You should possess either a 4-year degree and 4,500 hours of experience leading a project. So how much is 4,500 hours? So in a business year, you would have 2,080 hours. So I would say about 3 years would probably suffice if you have about 3 years worth of project management experience. Now, there's another thing that we need to understand. Your title may not be a project manager. Your title may be a project analyst, or your title may be, for example, people working in banking organizations, they will have different titles like SVP, Senior Vice President, Vice President. But the job that they're performing, the role they're playing is a project manager's role. Now, they will also qualify for this exam, okay? And then, of course, you'll be getting 35 hours worth of education from this training. So if you don't have a 4-year degree, then you can use your secondary diploma or high school diploma, but you got to show about 7,500 hours worth of experience. Finally, if you take membership, it's 139 plus another 405 that you got to pay to the PMI directly. You got to go to pmi.org and you need to do that. Before I open the floor for any questions, let me just quickly run you through this organizational website here. Please go to this website, global-teq.com, and you will see a lot of information in this website. For example, you can also chat with people. Some support people will be available. Click on all courses or hover your mouse over to all courses, and you can click on PMP. Once you click on PMP, there are many options: classroom training, e-learning, live virtual classroom. So let's say basically this is online training. Okay, so let's say you click on classroom training. You got to select your city, by the way, sorry about that. Training type, you got to select the training type, classroom training. So the classroom training is being offered in all these different cities. So you can choose a city. For example, somebody said they're in Baltimore, Maryland. So click on search. And so you have a 4-day boot camp coming up, or there's a quick 2-day speed prep coming up. So this is probably for people who already have some experience and understanding, right? If you click on enroll now, it'll take you. And if you scroll down, you will see the eligibility criteria, the agenda, advantages, the class schedule, and any FAQs pertaining to that. Okay. If you have any other questions, please feel free to call this number, 214-227-6396, or go to contact us and just fill this form. Somebody will answer your questions pretty quick. The support team is pretty good, and they'll get back to you very soon. Okay. All right, let me open the floor for any questions that you may have at this time.
Hi, this is Rhonda. So I know you just showed us kind of how to navigate on the website to enroll in upcoming boot camps. And I noticed that you showed us the 4-day and the 2-day. Are there any other boot camps that are a little bit longer?
Yeah, we do have online training program. An online training program typically runs for up to 4 weeks. So it's normally you would be having classes for about 2 days or 3 days a week.
Okay. And the duration or length of those classes in terms of, time, is it an hour, 2 hours?
So, right. So the classes are, I'm just giving this here at a high level, but you can confirm that later on with one of our support team members. So right now, if it's an online class, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday at 6 Pacific or 8 Central, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Each session runs for 2 hours, and it's a 4.5-week program because we need to cover 35 hours.
Okay. And then at the end of those, the online training, is there, or even throughout the online training, is there self-study guides that are provided as well to reinforce the training?
That is correct. In fact, I shared that earlier. You will be given some study guides, as you see here. You'll be given access to the study guides.
Okay.
And you can read through that. And also, there's other materials, and also the exam portal is also made available to you. There's justification if you need to go through the materials to understand what the concepts are. Yep.
And then, I'm sorry for so many questions. The last question is...
No, that's okay. Just pay me $1 for each question.
So the online classes, is there a syllabus that kind of gives us an understanding of what we're going to be learning in that class?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So go to the website again, and let's say live virtual classroom, okay? And then let's click on search. So 4 days or 4 weekends. So pretty much if you click on that, it gives you the class schedule. It talks about the agenda, what we'll be covering. See, at the end of the day, what we need to understand is we will be covering all of these concepts so that you can take the test and pass the test.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So, in fact, I have a list of course topics. Let me see if I can bring it up. All right, here we go. So this is what we covered today, overview and introduction, and then we will talk about project integration management in our formal class. Following that, we'll talk about scope, time, cost, quality, HR, communications, risk, procurement, and professional and social responsibility. So you do have a quick test and full length test, and also it's about 36 hours worth of instruction, and this is how the questions are going to be on the actual exam for each of these domains. Okay, you can go to pmi.org and look at their handbook and also find this information, the number of percentage of questions from each domain.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions, anybody else? Okay, I take your silence as no questions. Thank you.
Roxy, I'm sorry, I don't have any questions.
Oh, go ahead, Roxy. No questions?
No questions.
Perfect. How about the... Yes, please go ahead. Okay. Thank you all very much for your fantastic participation and your time. I look forward to interacting with you in our formal classes. Please have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, you as well.